How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargame in China, the free channel where I platform my understandings of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression in China from 1931 to 1945. Now, I do this mainly for toy soldier enthusiasts and wargamers, modelers, people who like a bit of history. Now, I was talking to my mate Simon Ford the other week, and he asked me, look, how does he start building a Japanese army for his rapid fire, for playing rapid fire war games? And I thought, okay, well, I can do a video on that, but what I'll do is, because I know I want this channel to be for all scale people, I know that 28mm players mainly play it at the platoon level. So I've started off with the platoon. Now, the Japanese infantry divisions, there were two main types of them. There was a standard square division, which was the A, or the standard B triangular division. There were other forms of divisions, but we won't go into them now. Mainly for infantry, it was the triangular or the square. Now, the main difference between the triangular and the square infantry division was the square was formed of 4 regiments forming 2 brigades, and had 25,000 men, and had an extra artillery group and an extra HQ for the brigade. Whereas a triangular division, just like the rest of the world, Japan had thought in 1938, she looked around and thought, you know what, we need to expand our army. We need to spend our men more and our firepower more and our production more. So what we'll do is we'll start making our divisions triangularized, and many divisions were triangularized, but many stayed square. And we find square divisions mainly in Manchuria, although regiments from square divisions would be sent off as reinforcements and parts of invasion forces on many other fronts. So, as I said, the books, when I started refreshing myself on this, because I haven't booked my Japanese for a long time, I was hit by the fact that no two sources will give you the same OBs for a Japanese infantry platoon. They would all agree that in the triangular division, a Japanese infantry platoon is 54 men, 3 LMGs, and 3 Type 89 grenade discharges. Now, just quickly about the LMGs, if you want a more flexible army, go for the old Type 11, the hopper-fed LMG. If you don't really care, just go for whatever comes easy. But for me, because I game in China, I always find the hopper-fed magazine better. So how was the infantry platoon formed? Well, it was formed into 3 rifle sections and 1 grenade discharger squad. Each rifle section had 13 men and 1 LMG. So it had 13 men with 10 rifles and 1 LMG. Some will say they had 8 rifles and 1 LMG. It depends on your sources. So they had the 3 sections, and then they had the grenade discharger squad of 12 men. It was led by a sergeant with 2 ammunition carriers, and then each grenade discharger, Type 89 grenade charger, was serviced by a 2-man crew and an ammunition bearer. The ammunition bearers wouldn't have been issued a rifle. Now, this shows us straight away, it's a good example of how flexible the Japanese infantry were at the platoon level, even, because not having these platoons, having the mortar, the grenade discharger squad, as a separate entity within the platoon organization, meant that it gave the commander of the platoon a little bit more flexibility with firepower. And I'm sure as you 28mm gamers, if you see that, you can immediately see how having the actual grenade dischargers as a separate section is a tactical advantage. So there we go. About the figures we're looking at, they're knockoffs. I got them in Chinatown for $1, and what they are is they're knockoffs of the 132 Airfix Japanese infantry. If you have 3 infantry platoons of 54 figures each, and add a HQ company, a company HQ of 19 men, a captain, a warrant officer, 3 sergeants, 4 medics, an orderly, a bugler, and 8 messengers, you will then have a company. And in a company, 9 LMGs, 9 grenade discharges. So there we go. So I'll take these off the table, and I'll take these off the table and clear up, because next we'll move to a battalion. So if you have 3 battalions, you have a regiment, as we all know. Well, these figures, they're not Japanese IGA. I painted them up as SNLF, and they're in South Seas Island uniform. So I just thought I'd make this up and show you a few of the different formations of Japanese I've got. So now we'll move to the battalion. And in a battalion, of 1, 2, 3, 4 rifle companies, and a HQ in a battalion of 4 rifle companies of 181 men each, or for rapid fire purposes, 4 infantry companies of 12 figures each with a knee mortar and a light machine gun in each one. A HQ of battalion HQ of 147 men, and a machine gun company, a medium machine gun company with either Type 3 6.5mm machine guns or Type 93 7.7mm machine guns. 12 of them, so that's 2 for rapid fire to the battalion, and of course the 70mm battalion gun, 2, sometimes 4 of them per battalion. So for a rapid fire battalion, it's 12, 48 figures, 57 figures, 66 figures in a rapid fire Japanese infantry battalion of the square type. So once you've got your 3 battalions, you want to form a regiment. Now, always part of a regiment was the Regimental anti-tank gun company, and that would consist of either 4 or 6 Type 94 37mm guns. Also attached to the regiment, well, also part of the regiment, was the Regimental gun company, and that consisted of 6 7.5mm centimeter Type 41 infantry guns, regimental guns, and that is. And then you would have also perhaps attached to the anti-tank gun company at regimental level. There could be perhaps as many as 8 20mm, I think it's Type 97s. Yeah, 20mm Type 97, 20mm Type 97 anti-tank rifles. You could have perhaps 8 of them at the regimental level, you know, as organic to the regiment. Now, what was always attached to a Japanese infantry regiment? Well, generally attachments were always an engineer company of 250 men, and Japanese engineer companies should be treated as elite. You can equip them with flamethrowers, grenades, satchel charges, and as there's 250 men in the company, I suggest that for rapid fire you divide them into 2 half companies. Then the regiment would also rely on fire support from a battalion, of Japanese 7.5 centimeter Type 38 field guns. Pretty standard to attach that to your infantry regiment. Then if you wanted to, you could also attach a mortar battalion of 2 81mm mortars, and also you could then attach, well, let's have a look at your regimental HQ. So for rapid fire, regimental HQ is 12 figures. I include the anti-tank rifle in my HQ. So then all you need to do, once you've got that together, and remember, if it's 66 figures to the battalion, I think it's 180 odd figures to a Japanese infantry regiment. So it's a lot of figures, but it's not a lot of trucks and things like that, you know. 1 or 2 trucks, that's enough for the wargamer, you know, because the Japanese infantry division never had more than 200 trucks at its disposal. So, you know, you don't need many trucks. And fortunately for me, I got sent this beautiful radio communications vehicle by a subscriber. Thanks, mate. And I was pleased to add that to my regiment. And there you go. There's the Japanese Infantry Regiment. As I said, it might vary, but you know, that's a good bonus to go with, and you can war game with that from 1938 until 1945 on just about any campaign you want. Of course, you can change the colours of the uniforms. These figures are painted for Manchuria, part of the Kwantung Army, and I don't know if I said that, but the Kwantung Army was one of the last armies that was made up mainly of square divisions. Triangular divisions seem to be spread throughout the Pacific more, but as I said, detachments from square divisions were sent to reinforce units in far-flung corners of Japan's new empire. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I probably think that was worth pressing the like for. Tell me what you think. See ya.